Hello, surfers. Welcome to another surf report. This one is recorded on August 7th, 2022, a little bit earlier than normal because it's a 2-week episode. We're in travels. Wanted to make sure I get out at least a fundamental part of the influence and the solution slides for the next 2 weeks so that we don't go, into uncharted territory. Let's go surfing. And check this out. So I have 2 of these slides, and obviously, if you've been on these surf reports in any length of time, you'll notice that there's something missing here up in the upper left, and it's the dream bot. Sorry, this is being recorded pretty early morning on a Sunday. So still sleepy. Got my coffee ready. I'll be periodically taking some sips of that. And I sound weird. All right. So we're missing the dream bot, and that's because, if I'm recording on the 7th, if I were to do today's dream bot, then it's going to be expired by the time we get into the week. So we're starting with August 11th on this slide. And so there's no way to get that dream bot in there. So we're missing that. And then we're going to do another slide. This is for the second week. So that's how we're going to do this. I got 2 influence charts. This is the first week, August 11th through the 17th. And it's a humdinger. We've got the full moon in Aquarius. I prepared you guys already, but just to review, full moon on the evening, if you're in America, in the evening on the 11th. And then we immediately get into a grand fixed cross. Actually, the grand fixed cross is already there, and it's climaxing. So it's like a 2-week long period, 10 to 14 days, something like that. And the climax is right at this full moon. And one of the points on the Grand Cross is Uranus over the North Node. We've been talking about that, but it's important here because we have the Aquarian full moon, and we have one of the significant parts of the Grand Cross is Uranus. Uranus rules Aquarius, and it's all squared off. Everything around is squared, and it's fixed. In other words, it's in the fixed signs of the zodiac. So Uranus energetically the farthest away from home and hard to get back to home. And so there's this big pressure to be in home. And so you got a full moon in Aquarius, so making things crazy there, conjunct with Saturn. We'll get into all this. I'll show you a depiction of all this. So I need to speed through here because it's just not very fun to do this without the actual astrology chart there. So let's back up. Full moon in Aquarius, Grand Cross, you got Venus going into Leo, and then we start a grand Earth trine, which will go into the following week, the whole next week. And the I-Ching says deliverance, and that's a big energy. That's a dam is breaking or has already broken. It's like the big thunderstorm. We'll read the I-Ching so you can get a feel for what that sense that energy. But it's very Aquarian. It's a very Aquarius energy. So that puts us obviously smack dab right on that full moon. But also the Venus in Leo is that same, or could be that same deliverance energy, and also the grand Earth trine. I put all these positive things on there. Not that full moon is positive or negative. It's just crazy. That's just crazy energy. But Aquarian full moon. So that's the deliverance there. And so big tension starts to release. It's not the tension. Okay, so there's the tension from the Grand Cross and more. There's other squares in there, not just the Grand Cross, but the point here is that deliverance shakes things up. So you've got Uranus shaking everything up over the North Node. So future and timeline are changing, as well as the Aquarian full moon in Aquarius. That's how you get an Aquarian full moon. The full moon is in Aquarius. Let me take a break. All right. So let me go through high congruency score because all the main energies are indicated in this deliverance chart. And then we get the second week. This is August 18th through the 24th. We have the Grand Cross is starting to expire. I'll show you that. And what's left is two things, really conflicted energy, but also really triney, easy energies. And that's the Grand Earth Trine, which continues all week, that week. But there's also that T-square that remains on Uranus and North Node. A little bit of Mars there, but it's mostly North Node and Uranus. Disregard. No, I think it does shift. The T-square does shift over to Mars, I believe. We'll look at that. And then the Mercury opposed Neptune is a big one. This is creating a mental escape. It's balancing rational thought and fantasy. There's a lot there to that. And those are being balanced out. Those will be challenging. But it's more enthusiasm. According to the I-Ching, it's enthusiasm. And that matches the Grand Cross. The Grand Cross expiring. So, all that tension is released. Okay, cool. So now we can breathe again. That's the energy of this enthusiasm, as well as the Grand Earth Trine, and then again the Venus in Leo energy. So, in review, overall, in this 2 weeks, the first week is big tension starts to release. So the dam is starting to break, and that's very Aquarian. And then the second week, it's this this resting period afterwards that allows us to be more enthusiastic, be a little bit more Leo. It's like the absence of all that conflicted energy. There are still going to be some squares there, but it's going to feel relieving after that Grand Cross is done. All right. You ready to get these things started? Let's do it. All right. If you haven't subscribed, I highly recommend you do that so you don't miss these special reports and other CIRF reports. We do these weekly, post them on Wednesdays. The CIRF week goes from Thursday of that week to the following Wednesday, and then you get another CIRF report. So in this one, since we're doing 2 weeks, I've got the vertical lines indicating the beginning of the first week, and the second line is the end of the second week. So we've got the whole span right here. And in that span, just a reminder, you've got the Neptune sextile Pluto still, which is powerful, powerful dreams. It's going to be lasting for quite some time, end of next year. And just be sitting there waiting for you to seize that opportunity. That sextile is an opportunity for you. Powerful, powerful dreams. I've had a few, and I want more. And then we've got, okay, so just an overview. You've got the full moon right here. You've got the Grand Earth Trine. Part of that is the Mars and Pluto, but that one is, power. So you've got Mars, the yang outer behavioral power, and then the subconscious power of Pluto. So I really like this, a very powerful alignment there. Towards the end of our, I don't think that I even indicated that. So I'm saying this now, the sun, if I forget later, sun going into Virgo towards the end of the second week. Okay. And Mars, just before that, will be going into Gemini. And then this is important. So you remember the triple, the stellium, Mars, Uranus, and North Node. Well, Mars is breaking free of that, and that's what ends right here. Let me darken this up a little bit. That's what ends right there. And then what you can't see really is this Grand Cross Trine. And that's mainly because I don't put lines on in my software. I just have it the way I have it set. I don't have lines on the North and South Node because I mean, it's already messy. And this is nothing compared to the other charts that we're going to see. Uh, yeah. All right. So I skipped the Friday the 12th because that energy, that full moon is happening at 8:35 p.m. in Central Time on the 11th. So it's in the evening. And so obviously that next day is just still going to be this this full moon energy, and the moon will then be over and passing over Saturn. And so that alignment's getting tighter. So there is no Friday chart here that we're going to talk about because this is it. So you got the Grand Cross, and it's really at its maximum, its climax. One point is Uranus North Node Mars, and Mars is 7 degrees away from Uranus, so he's already marching away from there. Let's see here. We've got the sun, and that part of fortune looks like it's right next to it at the time of the full moon, but it's not. It's 10 degrees away. And it should be exactly on. So whenever you have a full moon, that part of fortune is on this, which be the western horizon, because it's reversed in astrology. And you can see 29 degrees, 16 minutes in Leo is exactly where the descendant is, 26:16. So we have a Grand Cross, and it's very conflicted in all those sides, but nothing more conflicted than you've got all three of these, North Node, Uranus, Mars, squared off to both Moon and Saturn. So you've got, in essence, 2 times 3, 6 squares here. I think that math works out like that. And so that's huge conflict and pressure here. And it just so happens to be the channel. The only route home for Uranus is through this square. And so it's a heavy, heavy pressure. The bigger the pressure here, the more attention we're placed on it. And what do we have on both sides? We've got Uranus and we've got Aquarius. So there, you've got massive amounts of attention on things like freedom, breaking free, liberty. Knowledge is definitely in there, rational thought, thinking, a little bit of learning. But there's the water bearer, and the water bearer wants to have humanity in a good state, this humanitarian concern, but individual in nature. So Aquarius and Uranus is about uniqueness and shining. Disregard. I don't want to say shining my light. That's more of Leo. But disclosure and the shadows being exposed is a very Aquarian thing. The water bearer makes it not a water sign. It's an air sign. And air typically are, knowledge, easy to get along with, can be adaptable. But Aquarius is not, of the 3 air signs, Aquarius is the least of the adaptable because it's a fixed sign. So we've got a fixed Grand Cross here, which makes things even more conflicted because whenever there's conflict, you've got people that are now more digging their heels in and entrenched. One corner of them is Taurus, and that's probably the most fixed of them all, bullheaded. And that's what Uranus has been doing this whole time. What, 2/3? Uranus is about 2/3 into Taurus now and has been trying to change the fabric of reality. And I think has been doing a fabulous job, but sure is scary, huh? Scary for everybody who wants and wants to control anything about their world. It's hard. So we resist change. Okay, so let's get into the full moon then. It's at 19 degrees, 21 minutes of Aquarius. Obviously, the sun then in Leo at that same number. And so Aquarian craziness, because it's a full moon, not because it's Aquarius, but Aquarius can be so unique that they're outcasts. And typically, I don't think it's really they mind it once they get used to that uniqueness and difference of society. So there can be some exacerbation of just a crazy full moon energy with Aquarius together can produce some interesting effects there, exacerbated by limitations in Aquarian attributes. Because Saturn is limitation, Saturn is hardship. And so if we've got the limitation of Aquarian things, and we have the pressure away from or the focus on those highlighted limitations, that can really make some massive gains for the Aquarian energy. There's no way you get around it. And then the full moon really just shakes things up. Uranus in the North Node shakes things up, and as far as our future goes. So it's a powerful, powerful full moon. It's no surprise to me that in our triangulation process in these 2 weeks, the main energy is that full moon. And it's at the very beginning of our 2 weeks, at the very beginning. But nothing as strong as this. And for all the reasons we just described, there is this grand cross that could be seen as separate, that energy separate. But on a full moon, that snapshot is included in that full moon picture. It's not just a full moon sitting there. It's what's happening in the rest of the stars. So at that same time, we got Venus going into Leo, and we'll talk about that in the next day, in the next slide. But that's an energetic shift as well, because it's going away from caring and compassion into more passion and entertainment and fun for your relationships, for your sexual side, your feminine side that wants fun. And it gets creative too. I guess I just talked about it, didn't I? And then you've got Uranus and Mars trine over to Pluto. So easy access to power. Easy. This is easy. And this will transition into, as Mercury continues its float into Virgo further, it's going to create that grand Earth trine. All right. So you can see that developing. So that's about it for the 11th. It's a big energy. That's the biggest chart we're going to look at. From here on out, we've got the Grand Cross for less than a week, and it's just going to start aging out. You've got passionate. This is Venus in Leo, passionate, creative, entertaining, fun, even extroverted, because Leo is extroverted. And the pressure for ego to fight and rebel. And so our Grand Cross, if you haven't seen any of the previous CIRF reports, part of that Grand Cross is the South Node. And I don't have lines for it. That's why you see these drawing. I drew the squares in there because I just have it set that way. Software does not include lines to the South Node and North Node, but we had lines over here because Uranus is over the North Node, so we didn't have to draw those in, but there should be another line there and another line here. So this Grand Cross, you got the Sun, that's your ego, and it's sort of a childish ego at this point because it's Leo, creative and all that. Everything Leo, wonderment, fun, needs to be recognized, yearns to be seen, shines his light or her light. And then we've got square over to Mars. And this is the last day. So Mars and Uranus, I've got this depicted. Mars is at 26 degrees, Uranus at 18. So just one more degree. That'll be one more day of Mars as a part of the Grand Cross. From there, it's going to just be Uranus and North Node. But still conflicted, everybody. All right, Sunday the 14th. Still got the Grand Cross. I didn't draw those in there. But it's off by about 4 degrees now. In about 4 degrees of sun transit, you're not going to have a Grand Cross anymore. All you're going to have is a T-square. So you have half of a Grand Cross, okay? But for now, you still, on the 14th, do have that Grand Cross. And by that, we mean there's still this tearing of the timeline. Timeline is being screwed up and pressurized, and like a diamond. That pressure on that sand turns into this pearl, right? So there's a pearl being developed with this Grand Cross. And then you have the moon transiting over Neptune. I wish I could zoom in effectively, but when I do, the whole software goes nuts. So I won't. And you got this sextile with a double sextile here and a double sextile over here. And this is a big opportunity for pre-access. I'm going to call it pre-access because there's a special spiritual gift with Neptune in Pisces, but just Neptune. And also the moon. So the moon is home to Cancer, another water sign. And so you've got a real special alignment here with dreams, intuition. Moon would be closest aligned with intuition. And then the spiritual gifts, mystical gifts of Pisces, it's all there as your opportunity to get pre-access to the grand earth trine. So precognition, dreams, telepathy, yada, yada. Because these points, Pluto, these points that these sextiles go to are going to be on that grand earth trine that is currently in development. And then on Monday the 15th, just more of the same. We don't quite have that grand earth trine yet, and the Grand Cross is still there. So now we have the grand earth trine. This is on the 16th, and Mercury is in Virgo, Uranus in North Node. See, it does not include Mars there, and that's in Taurus, and then Pluto in Capricorn. And so grand earth trine is a really good feeling, but remember the timeline is still slipping and changing and conflicted with this Grand Cross. So you don't have it depicted here, but look at all these lines. I mean, just all these lines in and of itself is really chaotic. I think, not for me to say, over on Rumble talked about how he is feeling all these crazy energies. I would not be surprised if that accelerates, especially as we get into this first week in and around August 16th. Wednesday, this is the final day of the Grand Cross, and I can show you here. This is Wednesday the 17th. The sun is at 24 degrees, North Node and Uranus at about 7-8 degrees off of that. But more importantly, the sun is at the edge of being out of orb with the South Node. So this is, and it's of the strength of the level that we've seen before with the Grand Cross. This is much less because it's out of orb, or getting out of orb. More prominent is the Grand Earth Trine, and that's going to go into next week. All right, so let's go into next week. Whoops, let me go all the way to the top. All right, we're just going to continue this day-to-day discussion. Now we're on Thursday the 18th, and you can see it's a nice, crisp, clean look here. There's no Grand Cross, but there is a heavy, heavy T-square because we've got moon in the mix on the 18th, Thursday. So you have not just a Grand Cross, a T-square. We don't just have one T-square, it's multiple T-squares. And interesting, this is one of the rare occasions where all of them will be a part of it. So Mars, Moon, Uranus, and North Node. But we also have a heavy, heavy grand Earth trine. And it's not heavy feeling, but heavy as in there's a lot of lines. So heavy on the T-square, heavy on the grand trine. Which one is dominant? Well, I think both are dominant. And the way I see this is sort of a chance to use your perception. It's a chance to practice how you perceive the world. You could easily perceive how conflicted everything is. Oh gosh, what did I press? All right, we're back. So going back to your perception, you have a chance of seeing only the T-square and how you're feeling trapped in getting things done, emotionally invested into your world and your worth and sensing, and then everything changing in your material world with Uranus and the North Node being worried about your future and concerned about, being trapped in all that. Or using the same exact things that I just talked about, exactly the same. You can choose to use your five senses, be grounded, and have power to think about that and maintain all those things that we talked about. So you could be in a positive sense of getting things done. Your emotional worth in this world or value. You could be seeing the value in change. You could be making change into the future and being very powerful in maintaining that and thinking about it discretionately with Mercury and Virgo. And so you choose in this week, as the bottom line is, you can see it best represented here. You can choose to see how easy life is or how hard life is in this week. So it's a nice practice for perception. On Friday, the main thing here is this Mercury oppose Neptune. And you still have this perceptive issue, but you can see how the squares are all dumbed down and aging out. This is an intermission on the T-square because you can see there's a square now on Venus and Uranus, but it doesn't complete because Venus is at 10 degrees, Saturn is at 21 degrees, so it doesn't make an opposition, but you can see the new T-square forming. And then we have Mars going into Gemini. So much happening. The grand Earth trine is double. So you've got Uranus as one of the points and North Node. So that's triple. And now Mars is still in a grand trine, but is no longer in Earth. So you've got more rational thinking in terms of what you want to get done. Things start to be your Mars aspect or your ability to get stuff done went from sort of a heavy freight train to a very nimble, adaptable, almost clown maybe. So entertaining part of it is Gemini and just be all over the place and frantic, and maybe you have too many plates spinning at this point, but much more adaptable and can be placed. Your Mars can be placed easily. Your doing can be more adaptable to whatever's coming. And this Mercury and Neptune goes exact in the PM. Now we have as the the T-square on Uranus North Node is still forming. Why do you have that? You have this temporary T-square on the Moon. Look at all these lines. Take for a moment and look. That is mind-boggling. But the main energy is still going to be the grand Earth trine. So Nice. Using your five senses, grounded, and very powerful too. You're going to feel this strange sense of power, particularly on Sunday, even though you might feel trapped in your emotions. On the opposite side is very close to one of the points, the Pluto point on this grander trine. So it's where we like to go on a lot of these T-squares, is just go to the opposite side of the zodiac. And here it's not a perfect opposition, opposite, but Pluto is one of the points. And so you can get right back on that grand Earth trine. Now we get into Monday. This is the 22nd of August. We have the T-square on both Mars and Uranus. There's two separate grand Earth trines. And we have the emergence of the T-square. So Uranus has both, the Uranus and North Node has both a T-square and a grand Earth trine. So matter of perspective again, still. On Tuesday, no changes other than Venus is getting stronger with its opposition to Saturn. So now with the limitation of freedom with Saturn is balanced out with Venus just wants to have fun. So that can be a difficult alignment. I want to go have fun, but I'm limited in my freedom. So that could feel a little bit more trapped and conflicted. And then on Wednesday, the 24th, everything I just mentioned there with Venus and Saturn just gets stronger as we move along. And we'll see that into the next CIRF report. But Wednesday, we do have less lines than we did, but still in the average of things, a lot of lines to be looking at and get confused by. But we still have the grand trine. It is no longer over on Mercury because Mercury is 10 degrees off of Uranus. So Uranus drops its trine, but Mars still has it. Going to be aging out soon off of Pluto. So this is the last of this grand trine, last remnants. This T-square is only increasing in strength. So that becomes a little bit more dominant towards the end. Whoa. All right. Now we're 32 minutes into this. Now let's get into the I-Ching. Now it's sort of confusing, but this is how I-Ching is normally cast anyway in ancient times. And so we did it the same. I did cast six tosses of 3 coins for the week of 11/17, asking for the main energy of that week. And then the change hexagram is how we're going to end it. And so what we have is we have deliverance initially. This is a feeling of clarity and fresh opportunity, follows a thunderstorm, or at any time of extreme tension or obstacles. Man, it's just amazing how these I-Ching readings come out. The storm has had this effect of clearing the air and suddenly reduces the atmospheric tension. So in the first week, you do see start with a climax of the Grand Cross, a lot of pressure mixed with crazy, bubbly energy there, and it's got to shake out somehow. Well, the Grand Cross starts to wilt and wane, and so it's this deliverance feeling, and then the Aquarian energy gets exacerbated, and we start making movement forward. Great clarity of purpose and renewed vigor can follow the healing of old wounds, but care must be taken to avoid accidentally reopening these wounds by moving too quickly. You're going to see that through all of our I-Chings. It all agrees. Don't move too quickly. That's part of it. All right. Wow, you know what? I don't even have you haven't been seeing my picture. Wow, crazy. I just noticed that camera is not working, even though the light is on. Oh, well, I'm going to keep on going, people. So then it moves over into enthusiasm in the second week. This is 18 to 24 August, and it's enthusiasm. Enthusiasm unleashes enormous creative energy. The effect is like powerful music that inspires great numbers of people, loosening constraints and sprouting new opportunities. Enthusiasm in a personal relationship or in a group generates special electricity. All right, so all this is 2 influence readings for the first week and the second week, and that's how the I-Ching normally works. In ancient times, was the energy shifts. The I-Ching itself is all about how energy shifts because the energies are always moving. And then we move into the solution. Same thing, asked for the recommendations on how to behave and act through in order to maximize our effectiveness in these energies. And so we got 12 for the first week, that's standstill, and we've got 59 for the second week. So for standstill in the first week, it's about desiring to change such a situation too quickly creates extra conflict. It's an actual, the same recommendation, so that doesn't change. And line 2 says, safeguard your integrity. Avoid falling for inducements that do not serve your long-term interest or that violate your value system. So values are important in integrity. Stagnation is lessening. The dam is about to burst. It is essential to act within the boundaries of your authority. Too much exuberance during the potential breaking of a deadlock can lead to excesses and error, so be careful. All right, so what this is saying, this is a big warning for when you feel that dam breaking, that can produce a sort of exuberance or excitement. And so you can tend to overdo things. And so what we don't want to do is do too much as this dam is breaking. And so you're going to lose some progress there. Then in the second week, it's called dispersing. And it says, first thing to dissolve is any mental rigidity that might be feeding a sense of separation from others. Spiritual impulses, including a sense of justice, should be honored and acted upon now. Such impulses provide a gentle push towards important and constructive change. If you avoid righteous indignation or aggressive force of any kind, any sense of disunity can be overcome. If you have lingering business or partnerships that are inactive or not working, this reading suggests that you consider dissolving them. And then we go into our conversion chart. We plot the full moon way back on the 11th, and it's hexagram 49. Guess what that is? Revolution. Ideally, the transformation of forms based on the highest principles and not simply for power. You can see how the transformation has been happening for the past few years has been strictly for power. So now the tables are turning. And line 1 says the law of necessity. Revolution has no support unless it is perceived as necessary. Well, I think that one is gaining ground a lot. And what it's saying is that full moon is going to do a lot, according to the rave, of gaining a perception of necessity for a revolution. The understanding and application of this law to maximize expansion of support and thereby ensure viability. The awareness that potential of a principle is based on it being accepted as viable. Now, look at this. On the downside, it's called the helter-skelter syndrome, to commit acts of disorder as proof that disorder exists. We've been catching them doing that for years now. Oversensitivity to rejection that can turn a principle into a crusade. And that's the power struggle of the powers that be. All right, ready for the solution slide? And that's going to be, without my picture, without my face, but I'm Aquarian, so it's not necessary. And here we go. Here's the overall of 2 weeks of influence. Ready? I only have one big solution slide, so you don't have to get all confused. Packed it all into one. All right, the influence is the big tension and release is indicated in these 2 weeks is commensurate with revolution, freedom, disclosure, individuality, and all things Aquarian, Uranian, especially with the full moon on the 11th and the big T-square on Uranus. Tensions are high, but get released within this 2 weeks. Grand cross climaxes and fades into T-squares and a glorious grand trine, or several grand trines. So there's your influence. And here is the solution. We have 12 to 59. I just read all those. I just read about the rave mandala. We're maximizing support, maximize expansion of support, and look for them to commit acts of disorder as proof that disorder exists. And then I didn't mention Sidereal Capricorn. And Capricorns are ambitious, prudent, responsible. They can be fearful and pessimistic, so we need to watch out for that. All right, here we go. With crazy, unexpected deliverance type energies expected, we need clear guidance about how to react and behave. Above all, always remember your value set and to act with integrity in all your actions. Realize the dam is about to burst, so moderate your enthusiasm and exuberance so that you don't ruin the deadlock. Pause. I did not intend to mean that you're not allowed to be enthusiastic. Just moderate it. Notice it, but don't be too emotional as you move forward. It's not about repressing enthusiasm. It's just being enthusiastic, but not acting too exuberant or too over the top, because you might ruin the process or the progress of the deadlock. Let's continue. Conduct gentle pushes towards constructive change, including impulses for justice. Your non-rigid adaptation to the unexpected changes will aid in maximizing the expansion of the revolution, according to the rave. Her sidereal solution offers the ambitious, prudent, responsible, and disciplined Capricorn, but watch out for and moderate any fearfulness or pessimism during this period. Visualize tides changing in humanity's path. You can be on the front lines of the Great Awakening. And what you're doing there is visualizing where you want humanity to be. And we have the energies to help you with that. And so you've got the as above, so below going on. You've got the heavy emphasis on Aquarius and Uranus into the future in the stars. And so when you visualize that, you're connecting with the as above. And so putting your vote in for where humanity is headed towards all things Aquarian, the age of Aquarius, baby. All right, the mantra that I felt compelled to write here says, I fearlessly imagine and help influence humanity's flight to higher frequencies. Who's with me? All right, what I'll do is I won't have access to any DreamBot on the 10th or 11th is where I normally put those out. But on the following Wednesday, hopefully I will get a new DreamBot out, at least so we can see what that second week looks like. We can get an update on DreamBot and collective unconscious there. But other than that, you've got the backbones, you've got the overview of the energies, and we have a pretty well triangulated solution for you. So just keep reviewing this. It's good for the 2 weeks from the 11th through the 24th. And with that, I look forward to getting back to our normal CIRF reports for you. And you guys have a blessed couple of weeks, all right? And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Cheers.